Hello everyone and welcome to the penultimate round of the Prague International Chess Festival. We're going to cover a game, Sam Shankland versus Anish Giri, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what happened in the other games, but it's going to be a very interesting final round. This is a pretty crazy game, very difficult to calculate, so I imagine you guys will enjoy it. Let's dive straight into it. Sam with white opened with pawn to e4. We have pawn to c5, Anish obviously advertising his Sicilian defense. We have knight f3, pawn to d6, and pawn to d4. We have captures, knight to f6, knight to c3, and of course not the knighter, but he goes for knight to c6. Probably everyone is expecting Anish to go for the knighter now, so he mixes it up a little bit, goes for the classical. We have bishop to g5, the so-called Richter-Rauzer variation, and pawn to e6. We have queen to d2, pawn to a6, again, very standard stuff. This is all the main line, knight captures on c6, b captures, and castles queen side. We have bishop to e7, and here, many games in the database, bishop captures on f6 is pretty much an automatic, everyone plays it. h4, close second, some games with bishop to c4, but other than bishop to f4, f6, it's really not that explored territory. But here Sam plays pawn to f4. It is a move that has been played only once in the database 21 years ago in a game between two unrated players, Armin Hesendez and Stefan Ley, and the game ended in a draw. So very exciting stuff, and in that game, castle's kingside was played. But here we have the immediate pawn to d5 by Anish, and it is now as of move 10 that we have a completely new game. So Sam removes the queen from the d file, goes queen to e1, and is now exerting some pressure on that black queen on d8. We have rook to b8. Anish says, well, not really, let's just nicely develop our rook and prepare a nice queenside attack with queen to b6. We have e captures on d5. C captures, always good to capture away from the center, of course towards the center, I'm kidding, and bishop to c4. You could maybe develop some other way, but bishop to c4 makes sense. The d pawn is pinned, and you want to get the bishop over to b3 to help out with the defense of the b2 pawn. So okay, Anish castles kingside with bishop to b3, and now pawn to a5. Announcing maybe a future a4 if it is allowed. King to b1, and now bishop to d7, nicely gaining more control over this a4 pawn, a4 square, and pawn to a4, not allowing the black pawn to get the a4. And Anish plays rook to b4. And it's a pretty interesting position where you can feel that the black is the one who is mounting an attack, not really Sam, and you can see by the situation on the clock that it's much more difficult for Sam to make moves here. He plays pawn to f5, which makes sense. You want to weaken this pawn chain, also make e5 impossible. Queen to b6, putting pressure on the bishop. With rook captures bishop on b3, definitely an idea in some of the lines. F captures on e6, F captures, and now you could simply continue with rook to f1. It's a nice developing move where Anish can play pretty much anything, and it's a nice position for both white and black. Also, rook captures on b3 can always be played. Black can never be worse here, and it's very hard to figure out if white can maybe even try anything. You know, it's probably just going to be black pushing. It's very annoying to defend this with the bishop constantly attacking a4, bishop to a3 coming, rook to b8 coming, so that white king will have to be very thoroughly defended. But after f captures on e6, Sam played rook captures on d5, and he didn't even spend all that much time, not even 15 minutes on this sacrifice, and Anish was very impressed by it. Well, we could maybe think that because he did spend quite some time, you know, considering this position, but he calculated it well, or rather he didn't calculate it precisely. Later I checked out his interview after the game. He actually said that he was ashamed that he miscalculated one of the lines that well, you could also capture with e captures on d5. He said that he was, you know, leaning towards the knight captures on d5 right away, and that he was going to play it, but that he was also calculating e captures on d5. It's just that he didn't calculate it properly, and e captures on d5 is not the best way to play, and we're going to show why. Because it's a really awesome line. The point is that after e captures on d5, You might be thinking, well, of course, white will include bishop captures on f6 first to remove the defender of the d5 pawn. But then we go into this crazy line of bishop captures on f6 and knight captures on d5 with the triple fork here, but black will ignore the queen being attacked and play rook captures on b3. And after the queen is captured, you will play rook captures on b2 with check. Of course, you go to c1, not under the mask of the bishop, and then rook captures on b6. And it's going to be a position where Anish would have a bishop pair and a rook for a queen, and this is completely winning for black. The problem why that's not the way it would go to is that you don't have to play bishop captures on f6 as it doesn't work. You can go queen captures on e7, and now it's pretty much a draw. Rook captures on b3, c captures, you will go rook to f7, chase away the queen, queen goes to e2, let's say queen captures on b3. And not a lot to do here, like bishop captures, rook captures, you're going to bring the rook to d1, and this is now, well, definitely not winning for black. But luckily, Anish did not play that. He played knight captures on d5. Again, not the only two things to consider. You could also play rook captures on b3 right away, and it's also a very nice attempt at a win. Point being that after captures and knight captures on d5, you will play knight captures, attack the queen. This time it cannot be ignored. Of course, e captures, you'll play queen captures on e7, and now you have this bishop to f5 check, which gets the bishop out of harm's way with tempo, and it's very, very hard for white to defend. Something like king a1, you can also make a move to kick the bishop back, and after the bishop moves, you will capture on b3. And it's very, very hard to play because you have control over b1, and also queen captures on a4 is a constant threat, so black will have to, white will have to figure out how to defend this. Okay, you can always bring the queen back once the pawn has been given away, but it's a very, very sad position to play. Anish went into something similar. He played knight captures on d5, knight captures with e captures, and now queen captures on e7, but rook captures on b3. Once again, you do not want this pressure along this diagonal because white's light square bishop is an amazing piece. C captures on b3 and bishop to f5 with check. We have king to a1. If you go king to a2, then bishop to c2 will put pressure on that b3 pawn. So that's why probably Sam went king to a1. And now Anish just plays queen captures on b3. And again, this annoying pressure of the b1 square covered and queen captures on a4 will be checkmate if the black queen moves away from the control of the a3 square. But you're going to have to give it up. You can't, I mean, you cannot defend it and have access to a3 the whole time. So queen to a3 right away, and Anish now goes queen to c2. Queen to c4 would have been a bit more precise, but I think at this point Anish was also playing on Sam's time a little bit. So queen to c2 was played, and now bishop back to e3. Sam's time showing here because rook to c1, and it still can be a very, very competitive game because after queen captures on g2, you can go queen to g3, try and force a queen trade and an endgame of opposite colored bishops, and even if you try to ignore the queen trade offer, you're going to follow the black queen. Queen f4, also stop queen captures on a4, and now after something like bishop to e6, you will trade queens, captures, and yes, there's a passed pawn on the e-file. But, you know, bishops of opposite color, maybe you can hold this. So after queen c2, Sam played bishop to e3. He invested a minute. Unfortunately, he does not have any more time. He needs to make 15 more moves to reach time control. Queen captures on g2 was played. We have rook to g1, now really increasing the pressure, but Anish doesn't care. Queen to e4, we have bishop to b6 going after the a5 pawn, and the bishop to g6. So he no longer has to worry about the g7 pawn, and it's very hard to bring the queen into the attack as the queen is stuck guarding the a4 pawn. We have bishop captures on a5. Now Sam with two connected pass pawns on the queen side, but with the king also being there, it is very unlikely that you'll be able to push them. We have rook to f4, threatening the a4 pawn, and now bishop back to d2, threatening the rook. Rook to g4, rook to h4, again more precise, but at this point Sam has a minute and a half on the clock and he needs to make 11 moves to reach time control. Of course, it is very unlikely that he will be able to defend. He plays rook to f1, pawn to h5, and pawn to h3. We have rook to g2, bishop to a5, and now king to h7, getting away from any nasty business, and the king will be very, very safe there. Queen to b4, now it is Sam who offers a queen trade, and again Anish declines. Queen to d3, rook to c1, and now queen captures on h3. We have queen to b5, pawn to d4. The passed pawn is now marching forward. We have queen to d5, queen to e3, attacking the rook on c1. We have rook to d1, putting pressure on the d4 pawn. And you're probably expecting pawn to d3, where the pawn will be nicely defended, but no, queen to e2 with the threat of checkmate, saying that what happens if queen captures and you lose that pawn and the b2 pawn becomes defended. And that is exactly what Sam plays. He plays queen captures on d4. What did Anish have in mind here? Why did he give up this pawn? Have at it while I give you a couple of seconds. The top move that wins the game, and it is the one that Anish played, is rook to g4, attacking the queen and getting access to that a4 pawn. So of course you have to defend it. Sam goes queen to d7, the pawn is nicely defended, but now queen to c2, and there is no move that Sam can play here. A4 is being threatened, and also the rook here, well, can't really move. You would be happy to play rook to d4 to counter the rook, but if you play that, then you lose control of the back rank, and then queen to b1 is just checkmate, so that's not happening. There is no move you can play. Rook captures on a4 is the next move, and there is nothing you can do to stop this. You could play some silly moves, but we're not going to go into those, of course. So yeah, very nicely done by Anish, and a very, very impressive win after a loss yesterday in that very, very tough position. If you haven't seen it, check out my video from yesterday. It was quite a tough game for him. But yeah, very nice comeback, and he's going into the final round. I don't think he has a chance to win. We could check, let me just check the standings briefly. Okay, well, one game is still being played. Wei Yi still playing against Van, but yeah, it's gonna be, yeah, Anish on 4 points. No way to win, as Aravind is already on 5.5. So it's gonna be pretty crazy. Final round, Aravind, well, very good chances to win the tournament even with a draw, but we'll see what the tiebreaks say if Prague, wins his game. So best for Aravind would be to just win his game. In the final round, he faces Edis Gurel, so he has a very, very good chance. He has the black pieces, or rather, does he have the black pieces? Let me just check real quickly. Yeah, Aravind has the black pieces, so he will have black against Edis, and Prague will be playing against, let me just check real quickly. Prague drew his game today against Liam Le. He did try, but Liam Le just wouldn't let him have it. And yeah, we already said it. Prague will face Anish also with the black pieces in the final round. So it's not gonna be easy, but it seems that if Prague wants to win and overtake Aravind, he has to beat Anish with black, like Aravind did. So yeah, that's what Prague needs to do. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see what happens in the Wei Yi game. Maybe we'll be covering that one as well. But until then, I'll be checking out your suggestions as usual. I would like to thank Janko Popovic, Kushin for Pushin, Priscilla Woodley, Gerhard Homer, and David Gasparian for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.